You're listening to Urbana Radio Show with David Penn.
Biden was president, we would see these types of gains. It is because of Donald Trump's policies and what he has done to help our country grow again.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here with you and to hear these stories on why the fight for freedom can never be forgotten.
What is happening in our backyard today, I experienced as an 11-year-old at a guy named Castro.
Republicans are the party of freedom, Democrats are the party of socialism and worse.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
Comes up. There's no magic wand for that, Donald. You can't just make it happen. Well, abracadabra, buddy!
They were obviously triggered.
Biden is clearly on a teleprompter.
This is why I wrote the book Triggered, folks! Guys, welcome back to the Triggered podcast. Today we have someone awesome, someone that's gone against the grain, incredible UFC fighter, Colby Covington. He's become a friend. We had a couple pretty epic moments. Colby was at my office when they announced and we're doing the press conference for his last big fight, and he brought up the Triggered book that you see right there, and he's reading it at the press conference. It was pretty epic. So everyone welcome Colby. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, buddy. And I just want to start off, Don, you look really good today. I'm sure all the ladies out there in the world wish they could be in the same room as you so they could give you a Joe Biden sniff.
Well, I don't know if they want to be sniffing me right now. I'm quarantined with Kimberly because she got the COVID. So this week and this week alone, maybe they're probably better off sniffing someone else. But the Joe Biden sniff is pretty something. What do you think would happen if Joe Biden tried sniffing you, Colby?
Oh, I'd probably give him a big uppercut.
Yeah, I don't think it would work out well. You or your kids. But okay, so you've obviously been an outspoken athlete. These days, that seems like it's almost unheard of. I mean, at any other time in American history, you would think, the athletes, they're so pro-America, standing for the flag, all these kind of things. What's it like being sort of going against the grain as a professional fighter?
It's been tough. At times, I get a lot of support from fans and people around the world, and you guys showing unlimited support to me, allowing me to stay at the Trump hotels and come visit you guys in the Trump Towers and just showing your full support for me. But it's been tough, because my employer, UFC, I don't think they really agree with that. And just like in America, there's a lot of people that they can't come out in support of Trump because they're going to lose their jobs. The woke mob's going to come after them, and they're going to financially take a big hit. So it's been tough, but, I don't care what people think of me, and I'm willing to go against the grain of salt because, you can't buy me with money. I'd rather stand up for what I believe in rather than die for something that I don't.
Well, we certainly need a lot more of that. I mean, when you think of like LeBron and all these things, he's able to sort of, talk all sorts of smack about America. But then when you ask him about China, all of a sudden, oh, well, I'm not that informed. It's not a big secret, that the Chinese, perpetrate atrocities on all sorts of groups, whether it's the Hong Kong protesters, the Muslim Uyghurs over in the other side of the country, all of the thing that's going on right now. I mean, that you can sort of talk smack about America and the incredible freedoms that we have there, but hey, we're not going to talk about China. Talk a little bit about these high-paid athletes that are, seemingly just mimicking the Chinese communist propaganda talking points, presumably for money more than anything.
Yeah, it's hilarious. The LeBron thing, a guy who has had a shoe deal since he was in high school, and made millions off the American dream. And, he doesn't stand up for America, but he won't say one bad word about China. You don't see him out there talking about Hong Kong and them being free from getting their freedoms from China. But he's out here, shitting on all Americans, shitting on people that are working hard for the American dream, and just not standing up for what's right. And it's sad, and you got a lot of these guys these days, like the Kaepernicks, who are just idiots, and the Bubba Wallaces, the Bubba Smollett, who, they go broke, and then all of a sudden, they want to go woke, and they want to hate on our great President Trump, and they think that's going to help them. So, it's sad what's happening in America today, but people need to stand up for what they believe in.
Well, it definitely seems like there's sort of an opportunity to reinvent yourself as an athlete, meaning, if you look at, Kaepernick's stats or something like that, now he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks that couldn't deliver necessarily on the field. He'd do a lot better job than me, but I'm not a football player, and I don't expect to make millions. But now, he's got the Nike shoe contract and all of the things that he could have never accomplished as an athlete by being super woke. So it's pretty sad to watch these teams, the ownership, leadership cave. I think the only person really in pro sports who hasn't caved has actually been Dana White at UFC. I mean, Dana's been awesome. He's been pretty outspoken about his relationship with Trump. Say, hey, listen, your politics may be your politics, but Trump's been nothing but good to me. He's been nothing but loyal. He helped us build the UFC to what it is. So it was nice to see him as one of the few people that have sort of known my father for 20, 25 years, not just cower to the mob.
That's true. Dana's doing good things to bring normalcy to people's lives in America. We want to get back to our regular jobs. We want to get back to our normal lives, and the Democrats are trying to keep us down. The old governor nipple rings Cuomo, he's out there saying, protests and riots are okay, but he doesn't want, he wants all the people to be impoverished, and he wants the businesses to fail so everybody can blame it on Trump. And it's Trump's fault that the economy's bad. It's Trump's fault that, the way America is now. And that's just not realistic. And it's two-faced, and there's a double standard, and it's not fair.
Well, yeah, I saw that. I actually sort of put up a meme about that, last night. It was a picture of, a guy, winning a trophy, drinking champagne, hugging the girl on the podium, and then it's, 50th place. Because, the media has made Andrew Cuomo this incredible hero, and yet, I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's an actual measurement or a decision that would make New York anywhere close to the best performing state. But again, if you're willing to attack Trump daily on TV, I guess, that's all it takes for the media to give you, the gold medal, even if you're in 50th place out of 50 states by most of the reasonable ways of measuring these things.
Yeah, it's so true. And, it's a lot. That's why a lot of these athletes, in Hollywood or just around the world or around the country, the continental United States, that they come out and all of a sudden, if they start talking bad about our president, all of a sudden they got woke points, and, they're getting hired and they're getting these jobs and they're getting these shoe deals and these crazy endorsement deals. And, just for coming out and talking shit about Trump. So it's just very two-faced, and it's a double standard they have in America right now.
Well, one of the other double standards, I know you do a lot with this because, I see it whenever you're around, law enforcement or the military. I mean, you really go out of your way to support those guys, to show them the love that they deserve, knowing that, 99.9 something % of them are just, awesome people that risk their lives for our freedoms every day. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on sort of the defund the police movement, what that means for society, how ridiculous it is, and what you think probably happens in these neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's that is absolutely ridiculous. It's first responders, they put their lives on the line every day to protect our freedoms, to protect our laws. Who are you going to call if there's rapes, if there's murders? It would be like the Wild Wild West again. Just let's think back, Dawn, to 9/11 in New York, and de Blasio and Cuomo, they wanted to defund the police. Who were the people at the front line running to the Twin Towers to make sure people were safe, to help get people out? It was the first responders. It was the cops, and they don't get enough credit for what they do and the sacrifices they make to keep the people free and to keep the people safe, more importantly. So, you know, it's just that subject just really pisses me off.
Yeah, when you pick up the phone and call a social worker as someone's breaking into your house, it's probably not going to work out all that well. Not everyone can fight like you.
That's true. So you better have your right to bear arms. If you lose police, you better be able to, protect yourself with the Second Amendment right.
Well, tell me a little bit about. I saw something, online about you going down to the Miami PD, to show them a little bit of love. You're obviously down there, and in Florida. Tell me a little bit about that, and then maybe tell me a little bit about what you see going on in Florida as well. How's that affected your training, your schedules? What's actually happening down there? Because I see sort of the narrative on TV, and then I sort of hear from my friends that are in those areas, and those things don't always line up.
That's true, and it's been tough down here. I got to go by Miami Beach Police Department, and Sergeant Charlie Weiss gave me a tour of the shop, and we got to shoot guns. And I put them through a clinic because I could tell their morale right now is very low because everybody's hating on them, everybody's spitting on them, saying nasty things. I mean, they can't do their job without someone flipping out a flip phone or the camera and trying to take every little thing and say, "Oh, police brutality, oh this that." So. I feel bad for those guys because they have the spotlight on them and they can't do anything right now. So, it was important for me to get down there and kind of boost their morale.
Well, it's awesome that you do that. And I mean, I would think that they probably, these days, because of the nature of this, I mean, when you see cop, you're not allowed to do certain things in a fight. It could be a fight for your life these days. It's got to be tough because, again, I'm no professional fighter, but, it seems like even within there in the fight for their lives, they're sort of limited in what they can even do to protect themselves. I mean, headlocks is obviously a controversial thing because it can go wrong. It can go wrong as well. But, I don't know what someone who's undersized or someone fighting someone who's much more vicious or stronger than them does these days. So, man, it seems like a really tough spot to be in if you're law enforcement. Then you combine that with, defund the police, which is pushing experienced cops, people who know the streets, who've been there, who get what's going on, pushing them into early retirement, creating a void that then needs to be filled with either people that may not make or wouldn't have otherwise made a criteria and don't have that experience. It seems like it could be a recipe for disaster to prevent, sort of the senseless killings that do happen occasionally and should never happen. But man, it seems like that would only make it worse.
It would, it's a lose-lose situation for those guys right now. I was talking to a couple of chiefs when I went over to the Miami Beach PD, and they were saying they can't even put like a knee on belly now. Like they can't do basic moves to subdue a criminal or someone that's breaking the law, because they'll be held accountable, and they don't want to risk going to jail for just trying to uphold the laws in America. So I feel bad that they're under the microscope right now, and they don't get enough credit for what they do every day to protect us people.
Yeah, well, no, that can't be easy. I mean, imagine, I sort of liken it like, imagine you getting into the ring with one of, the opponents that you do, but only being able to utilize half your sort of fight arsenal. Man, yeah. that would be tough. You're good, but man, that would make it hard, huh?
That would make it very hard to limit your skill set. You have all these tools in the shed, and you can only take one tool out of the 20 tools. It's like then you're putting yourself in a compromised position, and then you're not safe, and you really don't. Then you're up against all the odds, and it's going to be really tough to win that situation.
Yeah, I mean, talk a little bit about this because, as someone who literally makes their living doing this sort of things, I mean, fast decisions. Sort of snap decisions. I think the one thing that really everyone in America agreed on in 2020, which is hard to believe because they don't agree on anything these days, but the one thing that everyone really agreed on, especially law enforcement, was that what happened to George Floyd should not have happened. That wasn't necessarily something that happened in a snap decision. That was just a bad cop acting inappropriately. And law enforcement was the first to sort of jump on it and say, hey, this is BS. This makes our job harder. If there's no trust, there's no safety. They were the first ones to rally sort of against that nonsense. But, when you're in a fight for your life, or you're in the octagon, I mean, even someone like you, I imagine, that does this, that's their comfort zone. It's like me showing up at a boardroom, right? It's a little different. Even then, though, you sometimes have to make a snap decision. It may not always be the right one, but in a fight for your life, you got to do it. I mean, with those restrictions, talk a little bit about that, because again, I just imagine this sort of instinct taking over in some of those instances, and it may not always be the right answer, but I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, it's tough because in those situations, there's so much adrenaline going, and it's tough to always make the exact right decision. No one's perfect. Us as America, we're flawed, and to say we're perfect, no one's perfect but God. So to act like we are, of course we all make mistakes, and it's tough, to always make the right decisions. But to have a limited skill set when you're going to do your job is just unfair, and it's two-faced, and it shouldn't be. That shouldn't be allowed in America.
Yeah, and again, I don't think anyone's saying that mistakes don't be made and there should be consequences for that. But I think the notion today is no longer giving cops the benefit of the doubt. It's giving criminals, sometimes with a 30-page rap sheet, give them the benefit of the doubt, and that seems a little bit ridiculous given sort of everything we see in the world today, unfortunately. So now that we've started getting into the fight side, let's take a little bit of break and come back and talk about your UFC career and some of the upcoming things you got going on. Okay?
Sounds good.
The radical left-wing mob's agenda? Take over our cities, defund the police, pressure more towns to follow, and Joe Biden stands with them. Cutting police funding.
Yes, absolutely.
Eliminating cash bail, letting criminals back on the street, violent crime exploding, innocent children fatally shot. Who will be there to answer the call when your children aren't safe?
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in tonight. Just awesome guest, good friend of mine, Colby Covington, UFC fighter. One of the greats, one of the guys that's willing to go against the grain and sort of be full on MAGA in a world like sports, kind of like Hollywood, where God forbid you speak your mind or have an opinion that isn't that of the Chinese Communist Party. That's okay, but being pro-America, not as much these days. Colby, let's talk about it. There was a big fight, UFC this weekend. Dana put on a show over in the Middle East just because it seems like it was the only place they could actually get an opening to be able to, again, run a business. And that's what it is. They got to put people back to work. They got to generate income. They got to generate revenue. They got a lot of people they got to take care of and put food on their plate. Talk a little bit about, what your thoughts about, Fight Island, as well as sort of the obvious. I mean, your weight class right now, whether it's Usman, Masvidal, yourself, this is a really competitive, weight class. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on that fight, as well as what you have going and soon.
Yeah, Dana's been doing a great job keeping the fights running, so us fighters can make money, because unless we fight, we don't make money, Don. So it's tough, we got to get out there and put food on the table, and the only way we can do that is by fighting. But as we know, all the Democrats in China want us to be locked down, and they don't want, Trump's economy to keep booming and keep doing well, because they're trying to make sure that at the election come November that he doesn't win, So all these puppets and all these, people that with the woke mob, they don't want sports to keep going. They want everything to be shut down. But I think Dana's doing a great job. Welterweight is exciting right now. They had that fight last weekend with Marty Fake Newsman and Street Judas Masvidal. I feel bad for all the hard-working Americans, that had to spend their Trump bucks to watch that pay-per-view, Don. It was boring, man. It was a hug fest. There was a footsie competition. They were stomping on each other's feet. They were whispering sweet nothings in each other's ear. So, it was pathetic, but it's okay, because we're going to be back soon, and we're going to make the welterweight division great again.
So, talk to me about, how have you been training? Obviously, MMA, right? It's up close and personal. I know you started off as a, very successful collegiate wrestler. How do you do that in a time of COVID? How do you train? How do you keep up with what's going on, so that you can, jump back in? And what's your next fight going to be?
So I started a new gym. I had to break away from my old gym because they wanted to take away one of my constitutional rights here in America, which is freedom of speech. And I wasn't okay with that. That's not cool. So I had to form my own team, which is now Colby Covington Incorporated. And I brought some of the best training partners and best trainers that I could ever get around the world. And, you know, my gym's been open for me 24/7. You know, we're still at work. We're still working hard every single day. We're all blue collar Americans that, you know, are blood, sweat, and tears to earn everything that we want in life. So, you know, my training schedule and regimen has been pretty much the same. I train twice a day, 6 days a week. And, you know, I'm just preparing for my next fight. And I just got a call before we got on this interview, and my opponent pulled out. It was supposed to be this crybaby liberal, former champ Tyron Woodley, and we were supposed to main event on August 22nd in Las Vegas on ESPN, but he just pulled out today. So now I don't know. Now my next fight's in limbo. I'm hoping I get a rematch because, as we know with the last fight, there was a lot of corruption that went on. And since I support Trump, you know, I had the deck stacked against me, and it wasn't a level playing field. So all I want is my rematch with a level playing field with Marty Fake Newsman.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a pretty, you know, amazing fight. I mean, I know you did it. I think you had a broken jaw, and you fought, what, 3 or 4 rounds literally with a broken jaw, which was just, you know, incredible. I mean, it's sort of the kind of heart that you just don't see, you know, that much in today's athletes, unfortunately. To see that was just truly impressive. But I didn't realize that they pulled out of that fight. So what do you think you do? Do you end up on that card? You know, who else is in the division that you want to go after? What do you think sort of the next bet before the rematch?
Yeah, it's tough to say. You know, I'd really like to fight with the former fight with my former training partner and roommate, Street Judas Masvidal. You know, he's number 3 in the rankings. I'm number 2 in the world in the rankings. So it makes sense. It's a sellable fight. It's a heated rivalry now. So, you know, I'm hoping that fight comes. But, you know, I deserve my rematch, man. All that went down with that last fight, you know, the ref was anti-Brexit. He hates Trump. So, of course, he was going to make bad foul calls and against me, and then when there was foul calls on me, I'm getting hit in the back of the head. All of a sudden, he doesn't call the foul when it's there and then stops the fight. It just made no sense. I was completely still in the fight, and, you know, there was some things that went on before the fight, and this is what happens when you're a Trump supporter in America. People are scared to come out and be vocal Trump supporters because they're scared of the backlash they're going to get. They're scared of their employers dropping them from work. You know, me, for instance, before my fight, 2 days before, I'm depending on this company to provide me with a meal service, and they show up and they give me bad food. And so I got food poisoning 2 days before the fight, and I'm throwing up 20 times, and I wanted to pull out of the fight, but I didn't want to do that and ruin the UFC's pay-per-view event because that was the main event. So, you know, there's so many, it's just so messed up.
Do you think that was intentional, or do you think that was just really just bad luck of the draw?
100% intentional, Don. You know, that was not luck of the draw. I know that was intentional. They gave me some bad chicken, and instantly I could feel it in my stomach turning. And then, you know, I'm throwing up 20 times later. And all the people from the UFC Performance Institute had to come over and give me these hydration packs. But it made my body so weak. You know, I was fighting at 50% that night, and I didn't get a fair playing field with a fair, confident ref. So, you know, I had the whole deck stacked against me just because I'm a Trump supporter.
I can see that. I mean, I remember your fight before that when it was in the UFC over in Jersey. You know, it was pretty amazing. I took my kids there. You're fighting, you know, a UFC legend, and we were sitting there front row with all my kids, and literally in between rounds, you're sitting there like chatting with my kids. I'm saying, just focus on the fight, Colby. I want you to win and get in there and go focus on the fight. But you know, so I know that must be you know, if you're not functioning at 99%, let alone if you're at 50%, that's got to be a huge difference, whether it's cardio, just the ability to go in, you know, 5 long rounds in a title match. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, if you're not at your best, you're not going to be able to perform your best, you know. And my best was when I had you out there in New Jersey to fight, you know, the boogeyman of the division, Robbie Lawler, one of the most vicious fighters in the history of the company, you know. And having you guys there, having you, Eric Trump, Kimberly Guilfoyle, and, you know, your kids there, just, you know, I had dragon energy that night. It didn't matter who was in front of me. It could have been King Kong, and no one was stopping me that night. I was unstoppable, and that's why we set a record that night for most strikes ever landed in a UFC fight. And, you know, we're in the history books. And, you know, that was just such a surreal moment for me and one of the best experiences in my life, right next to going and visiting your dad in the White House. And I'm forever grateful to you and the whole Trump organization for how much support you've shown me. And you guys are the most loyal people I've ever met in my life.
Well, your belt is actually up in the White House. It is there. That is real. And my father's like side room where, he has all his sort of breakout meetings and stuff like that. It is right up there on the wall. So, that wasn't just a quick photo up where then things are discarded. I mean, that thing remains. And I would imagine it's probably the first and only championship sort of fight belt, to hang out in the White House.
I'm going to bring him another one soon.
Well, I look forward to that. So, speaking of Donald Trump, obviously, I mean, you're one of the great sort of fight promoters, talking smack, getting things instigated, getting yourself, I mean, you sort of, talk your way into a title fight, but more importantly than just talking into it, you actually then capitalized and you won and you seized your opportunity. I mean, talk about that a little bit. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of sort of similarity between even yourself and Donald Trump in sort of the brash way. That comes with good and bad. We've seen that. But talk a little bit about, sort of the way you've been able to be outspoken, how that's worked for you, and, how'd that come about?
Yeah, it kind of came about by just paying attention to you and your father and how you guys trigger people. And, you always come with truth and facts, but sometimes the truth is too brutally honest and people can't accept that and they don't want to deal with that. So, I just took, pages out of your guys' book and just started, just speaking my mind and talking the talk. But, most importantly, we always walk the walk. It's not like I'm just saying things and I'm not following through with them, just like your dad says, promises made, promises kept. So, in the fight promotion, we know in the fight game, it's the entertainment business. So, I'm going to say things to get under people's skin. People shouldn't judge me how I talk in my fighting and how I'm trying to build fights, because that's not truly who I am. It's just what I'm doing because I'm trying to sell fights and sell pay-per-views.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, and a lot of people would never probably admit that or know it, but since you sort of went there, I mean, yeah, I can totally vouch for that because, I've had lunch with you, you know what I mean? We're talking about sort of, the subtleties of fights. I mean, you're a much more cerebral guy than the image that's painted when you're talking smack at a press conference and sort of, doing your thing. But man, it's amazing seeing that side of you and then seeing the other side, but then also seeing even those that know you pretty well and probably have seen, the sort of off-camera side that I've gotten to experience and am really impressed with, seeing how they can only react to the one TV side. It just gets under their skin. It drives them crazy. I mean, it's sort of remarkable, and it actually is very much in line with what we've seen from Donald Trump.
It's true, and people need to stop taking everything so serious these days. The thought police out there, it's okay to say bad things about our president, but hey, man, you can't say mean things and these kids on college campuses, and they need to be able to have their safe spaces, man. It's so sad how America has just become really.
Yeah, well, the safe space thing is truly scary. I mean, I grew up, luckily, I had sort of Eastern European grandparents that sort of still valued that side. I grew up over there, and I mean, they still valued it. It was okay to be masculine. You don't have to neuter a child from day one, and, you can do whatever you want, experience it all. But, I think it was a big part of my life. And when I look at sort of, the safe space culture, man, it's pretty scary. Someone said something pretty funny the other day. It was basically like, all those participation medal kids, well, they're grown up and it's 2020. Maybe it explains something. And I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. I mean, having to actually fight for something. And, I get, hey, I'm the son of a rich guy. I understand. I can't talk about these things in 2020 anymore, because, privilege and yada, yada, yada. But, man, I think we could all probably use to get our butts kicked every once in a while, a little bit more often growing up. I think it'd be really important.
Yeah, but, you're not privileged by any means. You worked hard for everything. And you're a real American man. If somehow the grid turned off and electricity was gone, think about all these kids with these participation trophies. They wouldn't know what to do with their lives. They wouldn't know how to survive, and, you're a hunter, you're a fisher, you know how to survive off the land. You're a real man. And, you and your family earn your money the hard way. You didn't do all the shady tactics they do in the swamp, like the Nancy Pelosi's who have these mansions and they have these private jets who are making money off China. You guys earned it the real way, through capitalism, through your hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and through real estate. So, that's why I respect you guys so much, man. You guys earned the American dream the hard way.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think sort of the zombie apocalypse would sort of be my happy place. I could just go hunting and fishing and I'd be just fine. But so, talk to me a little bit just, from a leadership standpoint. Give me sort of the difference. We talked about, say, Andrew Cuomo before and how the media built him up. But what do you think, as a fighter, as someone who's in there, the difference between like an Andrew Cuomo and a Donald Trump is?
The difference is, Donald Trump has some big nuts, and he's not afraid to make people mad to do what's right and what's right for the American people. Donald Trump puts all the people first. He puts America first. He doesn't need to be in that position. You guys have made your money the hard way, and you don't need to be sacrificing everything you're doing for America, because you guys could just roll up into the sunset. But you're doing it because you're trying to drain the swamp, and you're trying to get rid of all these swamp creatures like the de Blasios and the Cuomos, and to be honest with Cuomo, he's got his brother over at CNN, so that's why you don't really hear the real news and the truth all the time, because, the fake news media, so anytime I hear something on CNN, I just automatically assume it's the opposite.
Okay, well, trust me, it is. As someone who's been in the room, as someone who they targeted for 3 years, what you see on TV is usually not even close to what actually happened. And again, I can say that as literally someone who's been in the room that was then reported on, and I'm like, where are they getting this nonsense? But it is just that, the vast majority of the time, total nonsense. So, all right, last question for you. Obviously, you're a young guy. You got plenty of time left in the UFC. What's after UFC? Would you take those fighting skills and some of that trash talk and ever get into politics?
Absolutely. That's been a dream of mine. I had dreams as a little kid, being able to go to the RNC and be able to speak there someday. But, I definitely want to come into politics and just drain the swamp, and stand up for what's right, and, not be afraid to piss off, politicians or the dirty left, and just stand up for what's right. And I come from Oregon, so you see what's going on in Oregon, all the Chaz, all the nasty riots and protests, and, those streets need cleaned up. So it would be an honor to go there and fight for those people and fight for America and a better America.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, with Oregon as an example, I mean, what you do, you have that, you sort of have a coastal city, college town. These places are disaster. Then you have, the other 90% of the state, and man, their ideologies are just so far apart these days. It's truly scary, and that's what I say about this election. Like, you see this sort of new Biden, Sanders, socialist wish list where it's, Green New Deal in another name. Free health care for illegals paid for by the American taxpayer, free housing for criminals paid for by the American taxpayer. I mean, this is the greatest dichotomy we've ever seen between the right and the left. Your grandfather's Democrat Party is no more, I say to these people that, have a sort of history of, blue collar working class Democrats that, this party doesn't represent them anymore, and trying to run with the sort of Biden as a moderate. Like the second he put out that plan with Sanders, like, oh my God, this is like the Marxist wish list. But I guess, given Uncle Joe, it doesn't seem like he's all that there. So he's going to get pushed around by whatever communists are running the party. And they all seem to be that way. So, it'll be interesting to watch you, finish up the UFC career. And, I figure you got at least a decade left, Colby. So, you got to get a couple more in there. But after that would be pretty fun, because I'd love to see more people who don't need the job, who are going in it for the right reasons, who aren't going to be part of the swamp, and who have the guts to take it on. So, Colby Covington, thank you so much for doing the Triggered podcast. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been awesome to be here. Don't forget to check out Colby's next fight. Hopefully he gets on the card in August. If not, I imagine it'll be soon. Colby, keep training hard. I know you always will. You are a beast and a great American. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you, Donald. It was great talking to you, and we'll catch up soon.
I look forward to it, man. Be well.
All right, be well, brother.
Twitter, SoundCloud, Defected.com, and UrbanoRecordings.com.
On and on, it goes on, and when I'm on the floor and they ask for more, best believe I'm sure to bring it. From the break of dawn to the early morn, on and on, it goes on, and when I'm on the floor and they ask for more, best believe I'm sure to bring it. From the break of dawn to the early morn, on and on, it goes on, and when I'm on the floor and they ask for more, best believe I'm sure to bring it. From the break of dawn to the early morn, on and on, it goes on, and when I'm on the floor, I'm gonna shake it. And when they ask for more, I'm gonna bring it. When I'm on the floor, I'm gonna shake it. And when they ask for more, I'm gonna bring it. When I'm on the floor, I'm gonna shake it. And when they ask for more, I'm gonna bring it. When I'm on the floor, I'm gonna shake it. And when they ask for more, I'm gonna bring it. Bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it, shake it. Bring it. Shake it. Bring it. Shake it. Bring it. Shake it. Bring it. Tell me what you need, I got the heat, I got the heat, I got it. Tell me what you need, I got the heat, I got the heat, I got it. Tell me what you need, I got the heat, I got the heat, I got it. Tell me what you need.
You are now in the mix with David Penn.
Tell me what you need, I got the heat, I got the heat, I got it. Tell me what you need, I got the heat, I got the heat, I got it. Ask for more, I'm gonna shake it. Shake it. Bring it. Shake it. Bring it. Shake it. Bring it.
David Penn in the house.
Bring it. Tell me what you need, I got the heat, I got the heat, I got it. Tell me what you need, I got the heat, I got the heat, I got it. Tell me what you need, I got the heat, I got the heat, I got it. Tell me what you need, I got the heat, I got the heat, I got it.
I got that work. 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 Urbana. By David Penn. I got that work. 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 I got that work.
You are now in the mix with David Penn.
By David Penn.